Nintendo has reintroduced its longtime fans to a dynamic duo that goes as far back as Nintendo's history in the console market, Donkey Kong and Pauline. Both characters sport an arguably divisive new look, but Pauline's appearance specifically has had fans scratching their head. Let's be honest, Nintendo's lore is a little loose. They suddenly aged up Dixie's sister Tiny, they created a three-way timeline split to explain Zelda but left the latest entries in a world of their own, and I'm reminded how little sense any of this makes when I shove baby Rosalina off Rainbow Road into the dark, cold recesses of space. Nintendo needs lore like I need to pay $10 for a tech demo, but Pauline's resurgence and new look has certainly piqued curiosity. It wasn't that long ago that Pauline was an afterthought. A trivia question to bring up to a generation who only knew Princess Peach. With this grand and updated return, we thought we'd take a look at the history of Pauline, how she went from the original damsel in distress to political figure to DK's newest pint-sized partner. Sorry, Diddy. Pauline's story begins at the dawn of Nintendo's arcade success. After a failed attempt to use Radar Scope to break into the American video game market, Nintendo was stuck with a US warehouse filled full of unsold arcade inventory, hemorrhaging money. Instead of the expensive task of shipping new units, budding designer Shigeru Miyamoto pitched Donkey Kong to the company when they were looking to make conversion kits for the unsold machines. In 1981, Pauline debuted in the classic arcade game Donkey Kong, alongside the titular Donkey Kong and the protagonist Jumpman. I wonder what happened to him. In that game's simple storyline, Pauline, originally just called Lady, is the damsel in distress carried off by a rampaging ape, and it's up to Jumpman to climb the construction site and rescue his girlfriend. Pauline's name actually came a little bit later. Nintendo of America chose to name the character Pauline reportedly after Polly James, the girlfriend and future wife of Nintendo of America's warehouse manager Don James. Allegedly, company president Minoru Arakawa misremembered Polly's name as Pauline. Visually, Pauline's appearance had her in a red dress and heels, very much a 1980s take on a damsel. A fun fact though, the artwork in Donkey Kong's advertising was drawn by illustrator Leslie Carbarga, who didn't know the game's story and ended up basing Pauline's look on 1930s cartoon flapper Betty Boop. After Donkey Kong, one would have thought Pauline would remain a regular part of Nintendo's lineup, but the company had other ideas. In 1985, Nintendo introduced Princess Peach, or Toadstool as she's known in the West, as the new damsel of the NES's Super Mario Bros., effectively replacing Pauline as the leading lady. For decades afterwards, Pauline became mostly a forgotten figure, occasionally popping up in minor cameos. The first of these came in Nintendo's Pinball in 1984, which featured a bonus stage where Mario bounces a ball to rescue a woman who looks suspiciously like Pauline, as well as appearing in the Family Basic programming cartridge for the Famicom, which had some sample games and assets that featured her, Mario, and DK. She would also be referenced in the Saturday Supercade cartoon as Mario's friend, but nothing major.
Mario, come on! Donkey Kong is headed into the city!
The she's an old friend approach that we assume Mario told Peach to keep her from getting mad at him would continue within various materials in Nintendo's internal lore. As it appeared, Mario and Pauline's romantic relationship quietly ended. In truth, Pauline fell into obscurity while Mario went on to fame with Princess Peach by his side. However, Pauline hadn't been completely forgotten. In 1994, Nintendo paid homage to the original Donkey Kong by releasing an updated version on the Game Boy, often called Donkey Kong 94. This game starts as a faithful remake of the arcade classic, but then expands into dozens of new levels. Once again, Mario chases DK to rescue Pauline, traversing cities, forests, and towers. In the end, Mario does save Pauline, and even Donkey Kong and his son Jr. make peace afterwards in a cute, if not very Nintendo, ending where everyone poses for a photo. This marked Pauline's first major appearance in over a decade, giving her a more modern look with long brown hair. Nintendo jokingly explained her return in an official character guide, saying Pauline jumped at the chance to reprise her role and that life without Mario and Donkey Kong was pretty dull. Dull it would be once again, however, as Pauline disappeared for another stretch. She had appeared in the Game & Watch Gallery games, as the original handhelds had used the Pauline character, but when you played the modern version, Princess Peach would take her role instead. It wasn't until Nintendo revisited the Mario and Donkey Kong rivalry with the Mario vs. Donkey Kong puzzle platformer series in the mid-2000s that Pauline would truly become a recurring character. Starting with 2006's Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2, March of the Minis, Pauline makes her first showing in years as a VIP guest at the grand opening of Mario's Toy theme park. DK gets jealous when Pauline pays more attention to Mario's toy gift, and the aggro ape grabs Pauline and rushes off, prompting Mario to give chase with an army of wind-up mini-Marios. It's a charming callback to the arcade days, but this time with a modern, lighthearted tone. It helps that now Pauline isn't depicted as terrified. It's more like she's an unwilling participant in Donkey Kong's temper tantrum. In the end, we see that DK just wanted to surprise Pauline with a room full of presents and cake. Not the best way to go about it, but what do you want? He's a gorilla. Pauline accepts a mini DK toy as a peace offering, though DK's crush remains unrequited. Pauline would then appear in all the remaining sequels of the spin-off series. Games like Mini's March Again in 2009, Miniland Mayhem in 2010, and Tipping Stars in 2015 all feature Pauline in a similar role, a friend of Mario inevitably getting dragged into DK's mischief, at one point pretending to be kidnapped as part of a surprise party for Mario. By this time, Pauline and Mario are portrayed as friends, and Pauline often helps Mario run the theme park in between occasional stints of being carried away by a giant primate. Nintendo was starting to embrace the absurdity of her situation. She didn't return to the mainline series, but fans were happy to see that Nintendo hadn't forgotten this long-ignored character. Pauline had effectively carved out a niche in the post-Rare Donkey Kong spin-off lore, sort of a bridge between Mario and DK's worlds. And notably, she showed more personality in these appearances than she was ever allowed to previously, almost as if she was aware of her role and decided to have a little fun with it. If Pauline's return was a pleasant surprise for fans, her debut in the mainline Mario series was a full-blown triumph. In Super Mario Odyssey, Mario travels to New Donk City, a metropolis world inspired by Mario's New York roots that heavily references his ties to Donkey Kong. In this appearance, Pauline is no longer a damsel in distress, but a confident, capable city mayor. It's a great twist that honors her roots and provides more context to her character. When Mario first reunites with Pauline, she's standing in a rain-soaked city, donning a classy red suit and hat, calling the shots, and getting things done as she coordinates disaster relief during Bowser's carnage. The development team specifically chose Pauline for this role as a nod to longtime fans. Yoshiaki Koizumi, the producer of Odyssey, explained that when designing New Donk City, we wanted something that would resonate with players. We knew that players know Pauline, so of course we wanted to make her the mayor of New Donk City. It gives an extra layer of meaning and nostalgia to the game that in some ways was a love letter to the long-standing history of the Mario franchise. Equally as memorable is that she's also a singer, performing the game's big band-style theme song Jump Up Superstar during New Donk City's festival, an absolute highlight of this already jam-packed adventure. Odyssey's team wanted to flesh out Pauline beyond another kidnapping victim. As Koizumi also noted in an interview, as we were developing Pauline more as a character, we decided she would be interested in jazz. That led to her becoming a singer with the song Jump Up Superstar. Voiced by actress Kate Higgins, the once silent damsel now had agency and a voice, belting out an upbeat tune that became widely recognized as the game's theme, all over advertising materials and even had its own music video. It was a triumphant reintroduction that had players fall in love with Pauline as a character in her own right. It's safe to say that Nintendo realized her untapped star potential, and she began popping up a lot more often. Post-Odyssey, Pauline has enjoyed a bit of a renaissance as a member of Mario's extended cast. In 2019, through a free update, Pauline made her playable debut in Mario Tennis Aces, marking the first time ever that players could directly control her in a game. The same year, she joined the kart racing circuit in the Mario Kart Tour mobile game. She later appeared in Mario Golf Super Rush and Mario Strikers Battle League as DLC, and eventually got added to Nintendo's best-selling Mario game of all time, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, through 2023's Booster Course Pass. I mean, look, you don't just let anyone into a Mario Kart game. Well, I guess you do now. She even found her way into a cameo for the recent Super Mario Bros. Movie, where she's once again holding office as the mayor of New York City. It's a blink and you miss it moment, but it shows how Pauline's legacy has permeated multiple forms of media. For longtime fans, seeing Pauline on the big screen was a delightful deep cut. Today, Pauline's journey has truly come full circle with Donkey Kong Bananza. Once again at Donkey Kong's side, she's now taking a leading role, aiding DK on his underground quest. The twist, as previously mentioned, is that Pauline appears in Bananza as her younger self, assumedly from an earlier point in the timeline. If Mario even has a timeline. Honestly, it's hard to tell. I mean, Cranky Kong is present and was supposed to be the old original DK, labeled as Rare DK's grandpa and is now maybe his father. I try not to think about it. The game's story reveals a mysterious curse by the villain's Voidco that transformed Pauline into a small purple odd rock, and once freed, travels with DK in his grand new adventure. Pauline uses her love of music as her special ability, singing songs that can transform Donkey Kong into different forms, and even gets in on the multiplayer action, tossing explosive projectiles using her voice. It's equal parts heartwarming and humorous to see her encouraging the big ape on their travels in a Wreck-It Ralph Penelope-style partnership. Pauline's long history highlights her importance to Nintendo. From Nintendo's first Damsel to key player in the Mario franchise, Nintendo has managed to reintroduce Pauline in a way that honors her past while also pushing her forward, arguably getting more character development than even Peach herself. Nintendo has even acknowledged the value of her legacy, with Koizumi noting how bringing Pauline back in Odyssey added a familiar warmth for fans. She's a symbol of how far Nintendo's storytelling has come. Pauline represents a bit of Nintendo's past and present, and our future looks brighter than ever. Thank you for joining us on this trip through Pauline's history. Are there any other seemingly forgotten side characters you'd like to see explored? Let us know in the comments below. And for everything you need in the world of gaming, stay tuned to Game Rant.